Okay, first thing I'd like to do is go over homework answers, and then we'll go over the warm-up with you guys. So, number 2, sine of theta is 3/5, cosine of theta is 4/5, tangent of theta is 3/4, cosecant of theta is 5/3, secant of theta is 5/4, and cotangent of theta is 4/3. Number 4, sine is 1/3, cosine is 2 right equal 2 over 3, tangent is right equal 2 over 4. Cosecant is 3, secant is 3 right equal 2 over 4, cotangent is 2 right equal 2. Number 6, sine is 2 times the square root of 30 over 13, cosine is 7 over 13, tangent is 2 times the square root of 30 over 7. Cosecant is 13 times the square root of 30 over 60. Secant is 13 over 7. Cotangent is 7 square root of 30 over 60. Number 9, cosine 6 right equal 2 over 11. Tangent 7 right equal 2 over 12. Cosecant 11 over 7. Secant 11 right equal 2 over 12. Cotangent 6 right equal 2 over 7. Number 10, sine is 8/15. Cosine is the square root of 161 over 15. Tangent is 8 times the square root of 161 over 161. Secant is 15 times the square root of 161 over 161. Cotangent is the square root of 161 over 8. Number 11, sine is the square root of 119 over 12. Tangent is the square root of 119 over 5. Cosecant is 12 times the square root of 119 over 119. Secant is 12 over 5. Cotangent is 5 times the square root of 119 over 119. Number 17, x equals 4.5. 18, x equals 3 right equal 3. 19, x equals 6. 20, x equals 13 right equal 3 over 2. 21, x equals 8. And 22, x equals 7. Hopefully you did well on those. So let's go over number 3 that we did for warm-up. Okay, so I'm going to make theta A this top angle B, and always make the right angle C. So to find side B, which is down here, we're going to do our Pythagorean theorem, which would be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So that's a 25 plus b squared equals 49. Subtract the 25, and we get b squared equals 24. And then we're going to take the square root, and that's 4 times 6. Got a perfect square there. So b equals 2 times the square root of 6. So I'm going to put that over here. Kind of squeezed it in there. All right. So sine of theta is opposite 5 over hypotenuse 7. So cosecant of theta would be 7 over 5. Cosine of theta would be adjacent, 2 times the square root of 6 over 7. And then secant of theta would be 7 over 2 times the square root of 6. So we'll have to rationalize that denominator and get 7 times the square root of 6. The 2 square root of 6's become 6 times 2 over 12. Tangent of theta equals opposite 5 over adjacent 2 radical 6. And we'll have to rationalize again. So we get 5 times the square root of 6 over 12. And then cotangent, just do the reciprocal of that original. So it's 2 times the square root of 6 over 5. So there's our 6 trig ratios or trig functions for number 3. So today we're going to find all unknown side lengths and angle measures of a triangle. It's called solving the triangle. Solving right triangles can have acute angles other than 30, 45, and 60, and they may require use of technology. Make sure your calculator is in degree mode. So press the mode button and then check that degree is highlighted. All right, so let me show you on my calculator. All right, let's clear that out. All right, hit the mode button, and my degree is highlighted, so I'm in the correct mode. So make sure you have that done before you do these problems. All right. So here's our problem. It says solve the triangle. So we got to find all our answers, round to the nearest 100. Okay. So we need to find angle B and side A and side C. So to find angle B, I would do first is subtract 28 from 90. You know angle C is 90. You know all 3 of the angles add up to 180. So the 2 other angles add up to 90. So 90 minus 28 would be angle B. So that would be 62 degrees. So there's one answer. Okay. And now we're going to use sine and cosine, that type of thing, to figure it out. So I have side B would be adjacent to 28, and hypotenuse is side C. So I'm going to set up cosine, because it's adjacent. Cosine of the 28 degrees equals the adjacent side 15 over C. And what I like to do with these is just put this over 1 so it looks like a proportion, and then I'm going to cross multiply to solve this. So when I cross multiply, I get the cosine of 28 degrees times C equals 1 times 15. So to solve for C, I got to divide by the cosine of 28 degrees, both sides. So go to my calculator and I put in 15 divided by, and then hit my cosine button. It's right here in the middle under apps and math and program there. Cosine 28, and close it up. Again, you got to make sure you're in degree mode, and that's 16.98. So basically, let's make it 17, because if we're rounding it, that 0.9 becomes a 1. So C is equal to 17. And then you could do Pythagorean to finish, or you could use sine of 28 equals A over 17 if you want. You know, use your trig functions. I think I'm just going to do Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to do A squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. And that's A squared plus 225 equals, I believe that's 289. I'm going to check that to make sure. So 17 squared, yeah, 289, minus 225 when I subtract it over. This works out nice since I made that a 17. And then I take the square root, and the square root of 64 would be 8. So now we have solved the triangle. We know the three angles. A is 28, B is 62, and C is 90. And then angle, or side A is 8, side B is 15, and side C, the hypotenuse, is 17. So we had just solved that triangle. So that's how we do that type of problem. So here's another one, just like it. So I'm going to find angle B by going 90 minus 32, which would be 58. So that's one answer. And then I'm going to find, I think I'm going to find side B next. So side B is opposite, and side A is adjacent. So I'm going to use tangent, 58 degrees, equals side B over side A adjacent, which is 6. So if I make that a proportion, put that left side over 1, I got 1 times B equals tangent of 58 degrees times 6. So I hit my tangent button, 58, close it off, times 6. And we get 9.60, so I'm going to put 9.6 as my side B. It's okay to use decimals when we're doing these answers. Okay? So then I'm going to use Pythagorean theorem to find C then. So I'm going to do A was 6, so 6 squared, B was 9.6 equals C squared. Okay? So since I have that in my calculator, I'm going to hit second answer, what I just got, and square it, plus 6 squared, which you guys know is 36 if you want. So that's 128.198. All right, so that's 128.198 or 0.2, let's say. And then I'm going to take the square root to find C. Yeah. So I'm going back to my calculator and hit second, square root, second answer. And I get 11.3 for C. So we solved that triangle as well. B was 9.6 and C 11.3. Okay, so find your angles first, and then you might have to find a side using sine, cosine, or tangent, depending what you know. Remember your SOHCAHTOA, and then use Pythagorean if you got 2 of the sides to find your missing side. All right, here's a word problem that you'll have. We have a few of these. It says you're hiking Narrow Canyon while standing at A. You measure an angle of 90 degrees. So the picture there, they have a right angle down there at A, between B and C. And then B and C there. And then it says you walk to B and measure an angle of 76 between A and C. The distance between A and B is about 2 miles. About how wide is the canyon between A and C? So we have our picture. We're looking for X. So looking at the 76 degrees, that's X is the opposite side, and the 2 miles is the adjacent side. So I'm going to use tangent for TOA when I do this. So it'd be tangent of 76 degrees equals the opposite side X over adjacent side 2. I set up my proportion. 1 times X is X. Tangent of 76 degrees times 2. And I just put that in my calculator. So I'll clear that out, go tangent button, 76, close it up, times 2, and that's 8.02, and we'll just say 8, and that would be miles between point A and point C. That's a pretty wide canyon there. All right, so again, you just draw a picture of what they tell you. They have the picture for us, and then look at the information you're given to figure out if it's sine, cosine, or tangent. This was tangent again because across from the 76 was the opposite side, and the 2 miles was the adjacent side. Okay, let's look at one more. Oh, before we do one more, we'll talk about angle of elevation and angle of depression. So an angle of elevation is an angle formed by a horizontal line and to a line of sight up to an object, like up to that seagull. And then an angle of depression is an angle formed by a horizontal line and a line of sight down to the object where the seagull is down there floating on the water. So the red is angle of depression, the blue is angle of elevation. But remember, it's got that horizontal dashed line there that you always use those angles with. So a parasailer is attached to a boat with a rope that is 72 feet long. All right. So I'm going to put P for parasailer and B for boat. And there's a rope attached that's 72 feet long. The angle of depression from the parasailer to the boat is 28 degrees. So remember, let me rewrite this here. Put my 72 here instead. So do my horizontal here and down to my boat. I got this right angle here. So this angle of depression was 28 degrees. All right. Estimate the parasailer's height above the boat. So we're looking for how high up off the boat parasailer is. It's a vertical distance there. So looking at the 28, I have the opposite side and the hypotenuse side. So sine is what I'm going to use because sine uses opposite and hypotenuse. So I'm going to write sine of 28 degrees because they gave me that angle measure equals opposite side x over hypotenuse 72. Again, put it over 1 so it looks like a proportion, cross multiply. 1 times x is x, and sine of 28 times 72 will be our answer. Again, make sure your calculator's in degree mode. So with my sine button, 28, close it up, times 72, and that's how high up. So 33.8 feet above the boat. All right, so that's the type of word problems you have. Draw a picture of your right triangle and then figure out if you're going to use sine, cosine, or tangent to figure out the answer they want you to find. Okay, don't forget about the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared as well. And remember, that only works for right triangles. Okay, so great job listening. There's your homework for tomorrow, Friday, the 13th. And then on Friday, tomorrow, I will give you a practice quiz for homework. And then we'll go over it Monday. Your quiz will be Tuesday over section 10.1. Great job today. Let's get to work on our homework.